these are lifelong patterns. These are patterns that have been showing up our whole entire lives, that are there and imprinted because of, ancestral lineage and ancestral DNA and genetic memory, but also programming and conditioning that we've received, through our childhood that's continued to be imprinted. And when we imprint an emotional pathology or an emotion in an organ and meridian system of the body over and over and over and over and over again, eventually what ends up happening is that a neural pathway then develops a primary question. And with continual imprinting of that pathology and reinforcement of that primary question grows myelin around that neural pathway, which strengthens it to the point that we actually are existing on autopilot, like we're operating on autopilot.
This is Leah Steele, aka The Wealth Witch, and this is my podcast. I'm here to activate you to remembrance of your divine birthright to be wealthy in all areas of your life. This podcast is for people ready to have controversial conversations about the financial control, manipulation, and tyranny that faces humanity today.
I'm gonna live in freedom. I'm gonna live my destiny. I'm gonna live my freedom. I'm gonna live, the time is right now.
The Wealth Witch. It's for the people who are ready to wake up, deconstruct their wealth programming, and free themselves from the financial slavery consciousness that serves the global financial agenda. I'm committed to realizing a new global wealth paradigm where economic freedom is the reality and where you get to design and live the life of your dreams. Now let's do the damn thing.
Yes, I'm back in Bali. So I was gone for 7 weeks. Went to Berlin, went to Paris, went to London, went to Salt Lake City, Utah, went to Pocatello, Idaho, went to Rupert, Idaho, went back to Salt Lake City, Utah, and then finally am back home in Salt Lake City, back home in Bali, which I'm really, 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 really happy about. So happy to be here. Yeah. And it's, the last 6 months of my life have been just wild and crazy. And there's so much that I've been keeping inside and haven't been sharing and haven't been talking about. And I was talking to a friend last night and he was like, I feel like you just need to start sharing. You need to start telling people where you're at. And so this is like literally going to just be my telling you all the things about where I feel like I've been for the last 6 months in my life and in my business specifically. And yeah, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to be hearing some more announcements from me and some more information from me. But this is kind of just like the first step in beginning to share the things. So, the first thing I want to say is that, I think it's really, it's very easy to see somebody online who's an online personality or who has, a certain number of followers and a community and, perhaps, is an author and gets PR the way I get PR. It's very easy, I think, to look at me and think, oh, she's got it all figured out. Oh, she's got it all, together and, she's got it all figured out, really. And the truth is, I don't. I'm just a woman like you are, or if you're a man, any woman in your life that and I have my ups and downs and I have plateaus, and I've definitely really felt like in the last 6 months that I've been in, I used to call it a funk, and now it doesn't feel like it's a funk anymore to me. Now it's I've been in a plateau. I've absolutely been in a plateau. And I've been quite uninspired, and I've been uninspired in my life. I've been uninspired in my business. So part of this trip of me going to Europe, and the reason I actually ended up going to Salt Lake City was because my grandmother passed away. And so I wasn't planning on going to America, but I went to America to go to my grandmother's funeral. But yeah, I've just been in this place of like, being really still very passionate about what I do and really still being very passionate about humanity. Money sitting on my desk. Really being passionate about humanity and still having a deep caring for humanity and the collective. And at the same time, being so disgusted and so over like what I'm seeing in the world that it was creating a real lack of inspiration on my part, which was causing me to, feel quite resentful about having to show up in my business. And, I was getting really, really frustrated with, clients that were not showing up to doing the work. But it's interesting because it's like, I am feeling resentful. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling, however I'm feeling. And then obviously my clients are picking up on that and they're feeling that. So yeah, the first thing I just want to say is like, I have these periods too. I have these times where, everything isn't perfect and everything isn't aligned and everything isn't going exactly as I would like it to go, or, and that's in all areas of my life, right? Just because I'm the wealth witch doesn't mean that everything's always perfect financially. Like I was chosen to be that because things haven't been perfect financially my whole life. So, I really truly believe that like the greatest initiations in our life is the work that we're here to do in the world. And, so I have really been called into like radical alignment in the areas of my life where things were not excellent, where I was settling, where I was accepting mediocrity. And a lot of those things were areas of my life that I intentionally choose not to share in a public forum. But then, I started to question like, oh, am I not sharing them because I'm settling? Am I not sharing them because they're mediocre? Like, am I desiring to present this like kind of perfect front to my community? And the answer really is like, I sat with that last night and I was like, no, the answer really is no. Like, I like showing up in a very transparent way to my community. I feel really good about that. It makes me, I feel like the more that I can share what I'm going through, the more, and if I can help even one person through that sharing, like that's important to me. So, for example, like I don't share a lot about my intimate romantic relationships. Haven't shared a whole lot about my marriage in the past. I don't share heaps about my children. And that's because I feel like with my children, like they really should get to decide like, what gets shared about them. But the thing that I realized that I wasn't really sharing that perhaps would be very helpful for me to share was, what I've been going through in this plateau in my business and what I've been going through in this kind of reevaluation of who I want to be and what the next level version of Leah is and what the next level version of the Leah Steele brand is. And, what's, I just spilled water down my dress, in front of my dress. So and in order to kind of tell this story, I think it's important for me to talk a little bit about emotional resonance clearing, which is the emotional clearing modality that I developed with my, bestie, and business partner and overall incredible human, Dr. Michelle Patrick. So, it's been about 2.5 years since Michelle and I embarked on this co-creation journey and birthed emotional resonance clearing into the world. And it's been really, really wild and crazy how much the creation and birthing of this modality has called us into like radical transformation and alignment in the areas of our lives that we were settling, or we, were mediocre, or, and even not just mediocre, like the areas of our lives that are not amazing and excellent. And so, yeah, that has been a really fascinating journey that we've been on. And so, for those of you that don't know, emotional resonance clearing is based on 5-element theory, Chinese 5-element theory, which is a 4,000 plus year old body of work. It's also based on kinesiology and NLP. And it is about deconstructing lifelong patterns that hold us back from our infinite potential. So it's deconstructing programming, it's deconstructing conditioning that keeps us operating in a limited capacity in our life. But it's more than just, using kinesiology to clear stuck and stagnant emotional pathology from the organs and meridian systems of the body. It's more than that. It has been a deep journey of discovery of who I am, who I came here to be, and the parts of myself that exist, I think, in the deepest recesses of my psyche and in my physical vessel. And, one of the things that Michelle and I recognized straight away right off the bat was that this modality, it has an energy of its own. It is a being, an entity of its own. And we are simply the custodians of it. We've been given the gift of bringing it into the world and sharing it with people and training other people how to bring it into the world and how to, do the transformative work with clients. But it's certainly not from us, or it's certainly not of us. It may be from us, but it's more of it's come through us. But the journey of self-discovery for myself through understanding myself as an elemental being, and the realization through working with Michelle that, we're all elemental, we're all made up of all the elements. But each one of us has a primary element that is our constitutional factor. And that constitutional factor is simultaneously our superpower and our weakest link. And as, I've done all the spiritual things. Like I have done so much growth and expansion from a spirituality perspective, whether it's different emotional clearing processes or plant medicine journeys, or, it goes on and on and on. I will tell you that I'm very comfortable saying at this point that my journey through 5-element theory has been the most transformative journey that I have taken. And the beauty of it is that 5-element theory, like I said, it's a 4,000 plus year old body of work. You could study it your whole entire life and still not know everything. It's very similar to human design in that way. Human design, I think, is, the number 2 most radically transformative thing that has happened to me was beginning to live my human design experiment. And I'm so grateful for all of these things. It's not that one is better than the other, but I will tell you that the understanding of my constitutional factor, and from everything from, knowing that the physical symptoms and ailments that I've had my entire life are a direct result of my constitutional factor, that my perceived weaknesses and the things that my shortcomings and the things that I perceive made me less than others is a direct result of my constitutional factor. But also that all of my superpowers and my strengths and my gifts that I'm here to share with the world is in direct relation to my constitutional factor. Having that awareness and that understanding and that knowing of that has made it so much easier for me to journey this thing called life. In a place of being able to finally, for once in my life, have compassion for myself, to be able to still hold myself accountable, but to stop beating myself up, which is something that I've done my whole entire life. So, it is this journey of having gone through the Philosopher's Stone, which is one of the processes that we do in emotional resonance clearing, to, birthing this modality, to training practitioners how to take this work into the world. All of that journey and my continued commitment to showing up to my personal processes has allowed me to really transition through this last 6 months relatively smoothly. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to say that because I think it's important to understand, like, I feel like I have an incredible tool that has helped me through this plateau time and through this transition time. It has helped me remain deeply introspective. It has helped me be able to, look at where I need to be accountable for how I'm not showing up, but also where I need to, cut myself a little bit of slack and allow myself to rest. It's been a deep journey of physical discovery of, what's happening in this miracle suit that we ride around in. A realization, in the last 2 months that I have worked myself into stage 3 adrenal fatigue. And that actually is the thing in my life right now that has to take number one priority is my health. Like, I have to, like, my business and making money and financial wealth and abundance has to take a back seat right now to my wealth in health. Because if I don't have that, then I'm not going to be able to sustain these other things. So yeah. So, I mean, I think, this is all the stuff that is happening behind the scenes, like the things that you don't see. And I have an incredible team that works for me. And so while it may appear that I'm everywhere and I'm online all the time and in all the places, that's actually not the reality. The reality is that for the last 6 months, I have really pulled away from social media. Energetically, I have not energetically been engaged in social media. And the numbers in my business and the way that my business has been performing has reflected that. And it's just been in the last week or so, I felt a real resistance. Like, I will tell you that I have, every time I've opened up Facebook, you guys know me, like, I used to go live all the time. Like, this used to be a daily or at least an every other day occurrence. Me showing up on live, doing live streams, telling you what was on my mind, telling you that what was going on in my business, like, sharing and just energetically being engaged on social media. I've had so much resistance the last 6 months. I think partially that has to do with the pandemic. Partially it has to do with my disappointment in what I've seen happening in humanity. People surrendering their sovereignty, people, becoming just compliant and not thinking for themselves. And that's been really frustrating for me. And at a deep, like, I feel a deep wounding about what's happening with humanity. And then that actually for me often translates, and this is a metal constitutional factor thing, by the way, I'm a metal constitutional factor in 5-element theory. Like, that often translates as like me getting pissed off, and then me being resentful, and then me like moving into like resistance. And that's really what I've been experiencing the last 6 months, because when I open up Facebook or I open up Instagram, like, I feel disgusted. I feel disgusted by what's happening with humanity. And I feel like my efforts are wasted. I feel like my breath is wasted. I feel like, it didn't matter what I was saying. It's like people were just continuing to like be rule followers and be so compliant and surrender their sovereignty. And that really caused me, I think, to retreat a lot over the last 6 months. Literally, like, I use Instagram to look at cat reels is basically the extent of my Instagram work. And, and I'm sure that energetically at some level, you guys have felt that because I was so present in social media. And, I think that from a observational point of view, you wouldn't notice that because I have such an incredible team that repurposes content. But from an energetic level, certainly I feel like, if you tap in and you think about it, you would have felt that I just haven't been present. And so it's, it really has just been in the last week that I've started to feel a desire to return to social media. and this is honestly me like beginning that, like being here, starting that, and also being really transparent. And I don't know what that looks like for me yet. I want to begin to get on here and share my journey. And I want to begin to engage more, in ways that I think are important and relevant. And, for me, sharing this modality and sharing the processes that we're taking people through, I know in my heart and my soul that these processes change lives. And so for me, I'm just going to begin to be very selective about what I'm actually coming on and sharing. And I also think that there's a huge piece of my personal journey over the last 6 months that is going to be really relevant and helpful to people. And this is the first part of that, right? Like this is me sharing that I have been in a real plateau in my business. I have been, very uninspired. I have been really pissed off at, my community and humanity. And, it doesn't mean that I haven't been fulfilled in the work that I'm doing. I have been, and I've been really selective in the offers that I've been putting out and how I've been working with people. I love teaching my practitioners. Like I'm absolutely obsessed with my modality and teaching my practitioners. And I'm absolutely loving that. And I'm running a, business mastermind right now that I'm like, it's blowing my mind. And the clients in there are so incredible. And so, I am doing the things in my business that I enjoy, but there's a lot I feel like, is going to be shifting over the next couple of months. And I'm just in a place where I'm showing up and allowing whatever those changes and that whatever that evolution is to take place. Just like there's a lot of evolution and change taking place in my personal life. And again, like I'll be sharing more about that over the next few weeks. But, the purpose of this live stream today really was like, I wanted to let you guys know like where I've been and what's been going on with me. I also have been deeply engaged in the expansion of our emotional clearing modality. And that also has, I think, required me to pull back quite a bit because it required me to begin to look at it. And it's been really, really confronting, actually, my definition of wealth and what that actually means to me. So, emotional resonance clearing came along. We developed a process called the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone is literally a journey through all the elements. So, there in 5-element theory, there is a cycle called the Shen cycle. And in 5-element theory, literally the premise of it is that everything is elemental. Everything is made up of all 5 elements. Human beings are no different. We're made up of all 5 elements. We have one element that is dominant in our system and in our field. That is our constitutional factor. It is our superpower and it is our weakest link. It is equally those two things. And so in this process, the Philosopher's Stone that we designed inside of emotional resonance clearing, it's actually a journey through all the elements. And within each element, there's a theme to the element. There's an alchemical process that happens when the element is brought into balance. And there are 5 primary questions that are associated with each element. And so in this process, the Philosopher's Stone, we literally go in and we clear all 5 primary questions in each element, which allows us to actually alchemize and bring the element into balance. So it brings us into wholeness. When we alchemize all the elements and we bring those elements into balance, it brings us into a state of wholeness in our being. And so we've been taking people through this process now for a couple of years, and it's just been mind-blowing, the transformations that people are having. And so, and what we're looking at when we do a Philosopher's Stone journey with a client is these are lifelong patterns. These are patterns that have been showing up our whole entire lives, that are there and imprinted because of, ancestral lineage and ancestral DNA and genetic memory, but also programming and conditioning that we've received, through our childhood that's continued to be imprinted. And when we imprint an emotional pathology or an emotion in an organ and meridian system of the body over and over and over and over and over again, eventually what ends up happening is that a neural pathway then develops a primary question. And with continual imprinting of that pathology and reinforcement of that primary question grows myelin around that neural pathway, which strengthens it to the point that we actually are existing on autopilot, like we're operating on autopilot. And we don't have a lot of control, regardless of our willpower or our desires or the things that we want to do or what we want to change, because of this continual imprinting and this primary question being formed. We actually don't have a lot of free will and choice. And so what this modality does and what this process does is goes in and deconstructs those primary questions. It gives us a break. It gives us an opportunity to reinforce a new positive proclamation, a break in that primary question, and a clearing of that emotional pathology from the organ and meridian system of the body. This is not woo. This is scientifically proven stuff, and it really works, and it's really, really incredible, and it can be very, very freeing. It's this thing that I talk about, like, you can't mindset your way to millions. It just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work, but you can go in and clear up your lifelong patterning and programming and conditioning, and the conditioning that you receive through your ancestral DNA and lineage and genetic memory. And then actually be able to create real change in your life and call in and create the things that you deeply desire. So that, I've been through that process now several times. The Philosopher's Stone, I am now teaching this to practitioners. We are teaching practitioners to go out into the world and deliver this work to more people. Several of my practitioners are actually on this call right now watching. And it's been a really, really incredible journey. It's been beautiful to observe my own journey. It's been, honoring and beautiful to observe the journeys of my practitioners over the last 2 years. I feel deeply honored and grateful to have been given this work to be the custodian of. And I know that there's so much more to come. And so I'm excited about that. But through this process, one of the things that, I continue to be called into personal integrity when it comes to, elemental balance in all areas of my life. And that's the thing that I didn't realize that this modality was going to do. And so it really, on a daily basis, I'm confronted with the things in my life that, aren't serving my highest and best good and are not in alignment with the next level version of myself that I'm desiring to become. So, the first thing that I will say is that, we've taken 4 rounds of practitioners through, and we're getting ready to start our 5th round of practitioners in June. So if this modality calls to you, or if you've done this work with me in any of my other containers, or Boris, or, any of my containers where we use this modality, and you have been called to be a practitioner, now is the time, because our next round of practitioners and our only round of, I believe will be our only round of practitioners, this year in 2022, because we're going to be focusing on some advanced certifications for our practitioners, starts June 22nd. And as part of that, as part of that practitioner training, you get our 6-month program that we're in launch of right now called Becoming Immortal. Becoming Immortal is a deep dive into your constitutional factor. That thing that I told you is your weakest link and also your superpower. So for 6 months in Becoming Immortal, we dive deeply into bringing our constitutional factor into alchemical alignment and into balance. And then we also look at ourselves as full elemental beings and how to bring the other elements into balance. But it's a real focus on constitutional factor. This work has changed my life 100%. I believe it is the foundation to everything that we should be doing moving forward. I believe that 5-element theory is something that should be taught in grade schools, in elementary schools, because it's mind-blowing. And when we have this foundation and we understand how to bring ourselves into elemental balance, everything else falls into place. So practitioner training starting June 22nd. It includes Becoming Immortal. Becoming Immortal starts next week. So if you're called to practitioner training, definitely send me a DM, send me a message, and let me get you popped into an information group where you can get more information about that practitioner training. So not only is it an opportunity to go out and share this work in the world and make money doing that, but it is more than that. It is about you transforming every area of your life. My practitioners that are on this call, they'll tell you that it's this, they came in with one idea of what this was going to be, but it ended up being about them transforming every single area of their lives and stepping into the next level version of who they desire to be. So, there's a couple ways. Obviously, you can come and join us as a practitioner if that calls to you, or you can just join us in Becoming Immortal, this 6-month journey that Michelle and I are going on. And I'm so excited to start this. It's our 3rd round of Becoming Immortal. And we're doing this incredible series right now called The Frequency of Immortality. So if you haven't caught those, you definitely there's a couple on my personal page. And they're all in my free Facebook group, The Element Factor. If you're watching on Instagram, you can go to my link in bio and join the Element Factor Facebook group. And all of these Frequency of Immortality calls are on there. And we're actually doing, there's 2 more of these calls to come. We've done 3 already, but they're overviews of the elements and the alchemical processes of bringing the elements into balance and what that looks like. And also what that looks like in relation to using Healy, which, is an incredible bioresonance device that Michelle and I both use and are super passionate about. So there's some incredible free content on all this stuff that I'm talking about. If you want to go and learn more about it, definitely hop into our group, The Element Factor, our free Facebook group. You can search it here on Facebook, or you can, like I said, go to the link in bio in Instagram. Or you can go to www.immortalfrequency.com, www.immortalfrequency.com. And you can register for these live streams. They'll send you all 3 replays of the ones that you've missed and then give you the schedule of the next 2 that are happening next week. So that's just a way if you want to, get some more information on the stuff that I've been talking about so far today. There's a couple of free resources for you. But so one of the things that's been really interesting over the last little bit here is that I have been really confronted with what wealth is. And it is because I have entered into this new initiation with this modality, and we have decided to create a Philosopher's Stone journey that is focused on money, wealth, and abundance. And so the Sheng cycle that I told you about in this process of the Philosopher's Stone, we've now created a whole new process that with all new primary questions that relate specifically to our patterning and our programming and our conditioning around money, wealth, and abundance. And I mean, this journey over the last 2 months since I began dropping into creating the new version of this process and seeing how things are shifting and shaking out in my life has been mind blowing. It's like, it is exponential wealth. Like, it is calling into question everything that you ever thought wealth was, and bringing you into alchemical alignment with what wealth is for you. Because I really actually truly believe now, having, been diving deeply into this process, that wealth is different for everyone. There is no universal definition of what wealth is. And when we bring ourselves into holistic wealth, financial wealth and abundance cannot help but follow. And, it feels very much to me like it is just a universal law. When we focus on the things that we desire and bringing ourselves into holistic alignment in all areas of our lives, then financial wealth cannot help but follow. I'm excited about this process though, because we are seeing crazy financial gains from people, like actual financial wealth expansion from people engaging in this process. And so for me, when I launch these processes out into the world, there's a process of doing that because it's really important to me that we stay in the integrity of the work, and that we are really supporting our clients as they move through these processes. So I'm excited about this alchemical wealth process. This new process is called Alchemical Wealth, a journey through the Philosopher's Stone. Really excited about this. this is actually work that I told you I've been uninspired. I've been in this plateau place. Like, I am so excited about this because this is something I'm actually going to begin taking people through this process on a one-on-one basis. And it's going to be a fairly high level offering. It's going to be a 16-week process that you'll be able to go through with me personally. And we'll be looking at holistic wealth strategy. And this will be part of that program, but it's going to have, it'll range between 11,000 and 22,000 to go through this process with me. However, right now, because we are in case study mode and I am needing to be in a place where I can really observe a group of people going through this process. So I know what the reactions of people are going to be and how to respond to that. I'm going to co-facilitate a Alchemical wealth container, a case study container with two of my incredible wealth alchemy practitioners, Claire McCullough and Laura Johnson. So May 5th, we are going to take a small group of people through Alchemical wealth. And it is as a case study participant. So it means that you get it at a deeply discounted rate. It's $2,222. If you are an Ouroboros alumni, there is a greater discount off of that. And of course, if you're an emotional resonance clearing practitioner, there's a discount as well. But $2,222 to go through this 14-week process with us. It will require that you show up, that you are engaged, that you are excited about participating, that you are willing to set some pretty radical stretch financial goals for yourself that you will realize over these 14 weeks, that you'd be willing to fill out surveys every other week about your journey, that you are willing to submit a testimonial at the end of the process. But what we're doing is enabling you to step into a radically transformative process for a fraction of the cost of what we're eventually going to offer it for. I am so excited about this. Group intention is everything. So I know that there is going to, pure magic is going to happen in this container, and I cannot wait to see what comes out of it. So, again, spots are really limited in this. I just started talking about this last night. This is only my third public, conversation about this. But if you are called to this and you think that you want to participate in this, click the link in bio if you're in Instagram. I think that it's in the bio right now. If it's not, send me a DM and I'll send you a link. Just send me a DM in Instagram. If it's not in my link in bio, Alchemical Wealth, it's in my story. Oh my gosh, a huge freaking tokay gecko just crawled across my ceiling as I was saying that. That's good luck. So if you're here and you're watching, that's a sign. It means you're meant to be in Alchemical Wealth with us. So there's a link in bio. If there's not a link in bio, there's a link in my story for sure. Or just send me a DM and I can send you the link. But, we're only going to take 20 people into this, and it's just, this is where my business is going. And this is where I am feeling hugely inspired. Because I'm tired of, I do so much deconstruction work, and it's so important. Like Ouroboros, the program Ouroboros, and the deconstruction work we do in there is so important. But I also am I don't want to just stay in the process of deconstruction. I want to step into exponential expansion, and I want to expand people's ability to hold wealth in all areas of their lives in ways that they've never held it before. And financial wealth is really important in that. I don't want to downplay that, but I'm stepping into a place where my work that I'm doing in the world is more about holistic wealth. So yeah, I'm super excited. So I'm happy to I just kind of want to open it up and answer any questions, and there's going to be more of this. I'm going to be talking to you more about, the things that have been going on in my life and the things that I haven't been sharing and talking to you guys about. But I'm happy to answer any questions. If anyone has questions right now that they want to ask about anything that I've talked about today. I'm dropping on Facebook the link for Alchemical Wealth. You already know you want in, do the thing, click the link. We're going to do an information call week after next. We start May 5th. But if the spots have filled, then we won't do the information call. But we're planning to do an information call in a couple of weeks. So definitely check that out. And then if you're on Instagram and you're watching, then you can just, click the link in bio or the link in my story, or send me a DM. And if you have questions about any of this, send me a DM as well. But definitely open to questions. If there's any Q&A that you guys have, just, drop the questions and I'll hang out for a few minutes. So what's the difference between the alchemical wealth journey and the Philosopher's Stone journey? Okay, that's actually a really great question. So Philosopher's Stone journey is the journey through all the elements, right? And there are 5 primary questions associated with each element. And that is looking at, it's looking at your lifelong patterns as an elemental being. And so there's primary emotions associated with each element. There is physical pathology and emotional pathology that show up as a result of elemental imbalances. And so the Philosopher's Stone journey is just a real holistic look at you as an elemental being. The alchemical wealth journey takes that same process, but it uses new primary questions, and it uses not necessarily new. I mean, they are new, but they're primary questions that are actually targeted towards money, wealth, and abundance, worthiness, and deserving. So it's a more focused journey. It's a journey that is focused on expanding wealth in all areas of your life versus bringing yourself into elemental balance, if that makes sense. So that's one question answered. Are you going to post the Ouroboros alumni link in the Ouroboros chat? Yes, I will absolutely do that. I can do that as soon as this call is over. Cora, I will do that. Is the Philosopher's Stone journey and the Alchemical Wealth program together? So I think I just answered that. So this Alchemical Wealth journey that we're doing is the Alchemical Wealth. It's the wealth version of the Philosopher's Stone. So that's what we're doing in Alchemical Wealth. You can go through the Philosopher's Stone separately to look at more of that, bringing all the elements into alchemical alignment from an elemental perspective, looking at lifelong patterns as they relate to elemental balance. Also, yes, your presence was missed, but also I feel like it was a period of regeneration for us all. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, at some level, I think the whole collective has been in that, right? Like we've all been in a bit of a pullback and evaluation of, what's serving our highest and best good. And so, yeah, but I'm happy to be back. It actually feels really good to be, back, like energetically engaged. Can you do alchemical wealth before Philosopher's Stone? That's a really great question. Yes, you can. This is a place where I'm actually making a bit of an exception. Because typically I would tell you go through the Philosopher's Stone and then go through alchemical wealth. However, because this is going to be facilitated it's a case study environment. It's going to be facilitated by 3 practitioners. I would say absolutely you can do alchemical wealth before Philosopher's Stone, and it's going to be you're going to be having a bit of a Philosopher's Stone experience while you're going through alchemical wealth if you haven't already done the Philosopher's Stone. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a twofer if you come into this container and haven't been through the Philosopher's Stone. I will definitely recommend to anyone that comes in that at some point you do go through an individual Philosopher's Stone with the practitioner, because you just get so much out of that process. Like it's next level. But yes, you absolutely can go through the Philosopher's Stone or alchemical wealth if you haven't been through the Philosopher's Stone. Which I think then answers the question of, do I recommend doing Philosopher's Stone first? Take advantage. I would recommend taking advantage of this situation with alchemical wealth right now, because it will never be like this again. We may be offering it as a group program. Some of the practitioners may be offering it, but that's going to be next year sometime. Practitioners will be taking people through individual journeys through alchemical wealth, but you're looking at, again, probably $5,000 to $22,000 to do that process in an individual manner. So it's like, this is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to opt in at this level, and also to have 3 facilitators really focused on your journey and in deep observation of that journey. So it's definitely, if it's calling to you, it's worth just saying yes and diving into this, because it will be radical transformation on the other side of it, no doubt. First time catching you live, and I'm happy I found your beautiful work. Oh, amazing, Janessa. Welcome to the community. Okay, any other questions? If not, I'm going to go get some lunch. I'm actually feeling really good today because I made a commitment yesterday that I was going to come back and fully engage in social media and show up online. And I did a story this morning on Instagram, and I've done a live on Instagram, and I've done a live on Facebook, and I did live on Facebook last night. I feel like I'm on a roll. So I'm happy to be back. And thank you to all of you that, showed up and stuck with me through this live and listened to all the things. And, I'm here and I'm available to answer any questions. That's the other thing. I'm really I have been quite removed from my business and allowing all my staff to kind of manage everything. And that is actually a shift and a change that I'm planning to make. So, I plan to be a little more accessible than I have been, over the last couple of years. So if you have a question about anything that I've talked about in this live stream today, send me a DM, just open the line of communication. I'm happy to chat with you about any of it, but go do the thing, sign up for Alchemical Wealth. I want to see you in there on May 5th. And if being called, if emotional resonance clearing practitioner training is calling to you, message me. So spots are filling up really fast. Love you guys. Mwah.
That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to connect with me on social media and reach out. I love hearing from you. And if you want more of me, real, raw, and uncensored, make sure to join the Wealth Witch Telegram channel. It's my free channel where I share all of my random daily musings as well as the information that I feel like is important and pertinent to my community. We've put a link to the Telegram channel in the show notes, so make sure to come join us over there if that intrigues you. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you are the most powerful creator in your reality. Until next time, this is the Wealth Witch signing off.